Let's podcast alongside Chip Patterson, CBS Sports Cover 3 podcast. I'm Joe Ovies. No Giglio today. He is on assignment. We are currently, I know it's Thursday. It's always OG Live on a Thursday. Technically, you're watching this just past 2 o'clock, but little pull the curtain here. We're actually live to tape today. The way the schedule worked out, the way I could kind of corral a very special OG and Friends episode today, including Chip Patterson and Mike Maniscalco and Walker Mehl from WFNZ, there was no way to do it live today. So you're watching it live to tape. So you're just past 2 o'clock. As of now, it's just past 9:30 in the morning on a Thursday. The question, Chip, I have for you to get things started, how many Fireball blazing apples has Giglio consumed this morning as of right now, ahead of the ECU Tulsa game?
Right. And of course, Pirates and a Golden Hurricane. This is a rivalry that goes back centuries, so with that in mind, I'm going to have to say over-unders 2.5. I'll go under, but I think it's 2. Okay. I think we've gotten 2. The blazing apple with a nice little bit of oatmeal, because you got to have the healthy with the unhealthy. I can see it coming together to get his day started. I mean, it should be a crispy night in Greenville. Very, very fun football weather.
Excellent football weather. It is, again, OG Live to tape. And it's always brought to you by our friends at the Butcher's Market. Go check them out at thebutchersmarkets.com. The weather is perfect for grilling out right now.
Yep. I
get it. The leaves are falling. I know in my area, I got nothing but acorns. It's a big acorn year, so you got to clear all that stuff off. Don't worry about it. Throw the stuff that you get at the Butcher's Market onto the grill. You're going to have a great night. Maybe you make an entire Friday night out of it. It's going to be nice. Get your stuff from the Butcher's Market. Get that bapple going, and then stay up until 10:30 at night for a little Bill Belichick after dark, in a football sense.
Yeah.
Given what we know about Bill Belichick the last couple of years, his after darks have been a little bit different.
Broughton Homecoming on Friday.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Nice.
Patterson family will be heading over to Jack Spain Stadium.
Excellent.
And to check out the Caps as they take on Wakefield. Excited about that. I'm looking forward to that more than I am to what's happening in Berkeley late Friday night. But I hear you've already committed.
I'm committed.
You're committed.
I'm
okay.
committed. I might be on some nature's relief by the time we get around to that. I might have to switch from the indica to the sativa.
Just to stay awake.
Yes. So it is. Usually I'm an indica guy. As you know, the rule is indica, in the couch.
Right.
Sativa, a little bit different. So I might have to go to nature's relief on Friday ahead of that game to stay awake some way, somehow. Last week, Dimitri and I on OG Business, in all of the hoopla surrounding UNC and everything falling apart and all the reports of people trying to find other jobs and Bill Belichick maybe negotiating a buyout, Dimitri and I spent some time talking about the business of Belichick and how the business of Belichick has essentially gone bust, as you know, because we're about to be in that hiring cycle. All these coaches will bring different elements of, it'll bring eyeballs. People will be excited. They'll be going to stadiums. The Big Ten, we talked to Matt Brown a little bit this week from Extra Points. The money that the Big Ten wants from the private capital is to improve a lot of these old stadiums so they can find new ways to pull revenue levers, right? And the big selling point on Bill Belichick when he got hired, beyond it's Super Bowls, and how could you not want one of the best coaches to ever do it to be your head coach here at UNC? The big sell was the business aspect of it.
Sure.
Belichick will be a guaranteed ratings draw. It'll drive season ticket sales. It will drive up donations. All the metrics will go up. And even after the embarrassment against TCU, we did see some justification. Well, say what you want about the blowout, but with the incentives about ratings, that was one of the highest rated games. They had Monday night, over the air, and they had a huge rating, and that ends up doing well. Although this is something where I feel like you should reiterate, because I know you've brought this up. It is ironic that the certain ACC schools are so obsessed with ratings, yet they're not realizing why these ratings are what they are.
Yeah, the entire nation is tuning in to watch you lose. I mean, I love Bud. Everyone who listens to the Cover 3 podcast understands that we have been calling Florida State the time slot champs, tongue-in-cheek, firmly in cheek for a long time, including last year when they go 2-10, and we're still putting up big numbers. And Bud pointed out, he was like, man, look at that number on a Friday night. And I was like, yeah, They weren't tuning in because they're all Tony Elliott fans.
No.
They weren't tuning in because they think Scott Stadium is a quaint and pleasant football stadium. They were tuning in to watch Florida State lose. And I do think that there's some aspect of that to Bill Belichick, or was some aspect of that to Bill Belichick, because it was the sentiment. We discussed this even going into the year, that the NFL crowd was bringing a truly toxic, Schadenfreude conversation. Where
they were there to rubberneck.
They were rooting for this to burn and crash before the first kickoff, before the one drive that meant everything.
I'm not going to show you the text from our friends Brooke Pryor or Jonathan Jones. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, and so I think that there's even that crowd, and not the ones who graduated from North Carolina, but even the uninvested, we are only in this to watch Bill crash and burn.
Yeah, make fun of him, right?
Even they, I think, have crossed over to this is sad.
Yes.
I think this isn't even a fun, negatively charged watch at this point.
So we've seen this
joyless.
Joyless is a good. Well, it's Bill Belichick, who
True.
It does not bring a lot of joy to football. That's why I always, if you go back and you read the idea behind hiring Bill Belichick, there was this sentiment. Well, it's just gonna be like Dion at Colorado, except that you're taking one key element about Dion out of the equation.
Charisma.
One of one.
Yes.
They made one Dion.
Right.
Okay. Curmudgeonly old football coaches, NFL coaches that go to college. We've seen this a bunch of times, and we usually see how it works out. Not well. Now, nobody could have predicted how bad it's gotten. And the Schadenfreude, the Mike Florio at Pro Football Talk is going to continue to hammer Bill Belichick to make a point. So all of this setup is to give you the latest example of how the business of Belichick has gone bust. This is from Front Office Sports. Turns out that the ACC network picked up the UNC Virginia game before the CW made their selections, because it's all in that pecking order. So ESPN passed on another Belichick opportunity. So Belichick, this is aggregated by Awful Announcing from Front Office Sports. Belichick on the ACC network, they opted to put NC State Pitt at 3:30, which is an important game for NC State, by the way, and Boston College Louisville at 7:30. And it's typically more attractive TV windows that mostly draw larger audiences later in the day. Here's the kicker. UNC's most recent game against Clemson on October 4th drew 1.86 million viewers on ESPN in the noon window, ranking 10th in week 6. On September 20th, that UCF game on Fox drew 2.03 million on Fox. That's the 11th highest of week 4. That's the first time I've seen that number, because when Fox initially put out their ratings, and I discussed this last week, we couldn't find them.
Right.
They just weren't publicly available. So somehow Front Office Sport got the number. These aren't necessarily bad numbers for UNC. They're probably better than what they've been in the past, but not what television executives thought they were going to be for Bill Belichick. And you're seeing this slow decline of interest, not just from how media talks about it. I mean, how many times have I texted you, man, for all the talk about Belichick pump, you guys never talk about UNC. And now you have less incentive to do so because you're not winning. And now I'm curious, not only from the television perspective for UNC Virginia for a noon game, what the hell is Keenan going to look like coming off what I think is going to be a loss Friday night at Cal?
Well, the thing that is, Virginia also is an ACC championship contender.
Dude, Virginia's offense
the
against
hook.
that defense, it's this does not bode well for the Tar Heels.
They will still be undefeated in conference play. Shout out to the non-conference game week 2. That Virginia will still be undefeated in conference play when they show up to Kenan Stadium.
Can we pause it right there?
Yeah.
Can we give Tom Fornelli some credit?
For what?
Saying Virginia sneaky because of the schedule.
Oh, and you were bagging on him.
I was bagging on him.
Yeah. So we can come full.
We got to go full circle on that, because back in your preview episodes of Cover 3, Fornelli's like, hey, man, I'm just saying that schedule stinks. And you know how I get. The schedule for everybody in the ACC stinks because nobody thinks about the ACC. Can you go out there and do it is the question.
Right. I mean,
right now, Miami's the only team that looks legitimate in this entire group. After that, man, it's a toss-up.
Yeah. What everyone doesn't realize is they all think that they all have easy schedules.
Right.
Because they are all the ones that are the mark for everybody else.
Bingo.
Yeah.
So here we are. Now, in this particular game against Virginia, I get it's the oldest rivalry, blah, 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 blah. But based on what we saw against Clemson, and what I expect to happen on Friday, we get yet to another nail in the coffin of the business of Belichick. butts and seats.
Yeah.
And I just don't see butts and seats for a noon game against Virginia in 2 weeks.
So
What are we going to have?
This is a question I don't know the answer to. And I wonder if when we talk about the future and, whether Bill Belichick, have the checks cashed? Have the checks cleared? Was Bill Belichick an actual part of the sponsorships that they sold with the logos on the field, of the sponsorships that they sold? And when we were in Kenan Stadium for the opener, you could walk around. You could see a lot more of a corporate presence on the concourse and sort of around the stadium.
Yeah.
Is Bill Belichick the selling point, or is that just the University of North Carolina being able to sell itself?
Maybe.
How much are those corporate deals tied to you have to have Belichick, or would replacement level power conference coach be able to lead to the exact same sales? Like, I am not in those sales conversations, but when I think about the business of Belichick, his market value has obviously gone down. At what point does the University of North Carolina say, we don't need the interlocking NC and the University of North Carolina brand? We don't need Mr. 6 Super Bowls to be able to go and sell to these different corporate sponsors to generate that revenue right now.
I bring all this up because we're looking for, the question is, how long does Belichick last at UNC? And there are any number of reasons to fire a coach in college football. And one thing David Teal told us when Brent Pry got let go, it was a financial decision, because coming off the season that they're having, going back to Lane Stadium, who's going to show up? And when Virginia Tech fans decide, I would rather do something else on my Saturday night, well, then you're done as a coach. There is the apathy that it ends up kicking in. And if people aren't showing up anymore, I'll use this with Kevin Keatts at NC State. You knew things were done with Kevin Keatts when they win the ACC championship and they get to the Final Four, and the night of the banner raising, there's barely anybody there because people have still decided, forever grateful, but we ain't showing up.
Right.
So I got to imagine that all the business decision makers are looking at what they thought could justify this existence with ticket sales and boosters and all that other stuff to people now withholding their money, which again is another nail in the coffin of this Belichick era. Any number of reasons to be fired. And I think they're just going to cut the check because it doesn't make any sense to keep throwing bad money or good money after bad money. It's a sunk cost at this point. So I just bring all this up. More examples showing you that where this is headed with Belichick, you got to give him time. You got to give him time. No, you don't. We kind of know what the deal is right now. And we also know that another reason why James Franklin probably gets fired, which was an emotional firing, which we'll get to in a second, why other coaches get fired is because if you're going to salvage anything from this season, you have to indicate to the players in the room, we're still going to try to fight for something. Here we go. North Carolina's put itself in a weird position because when you fire James Franklin at Penn State, there's still an infrastructure in place behind him.
Right.
When you fire the UCLA head coach, you still have all the people there. If you fire Bill Belichick, you're not just firing Bill Belichick.
Right.
So you're kind of stuck with him the rest of the year.
I was going to say, I would not make a move. If I was in a leadership position and all of the invested power brokers, and we had all gotten on the same page and said, we are going to really begin to explore a way out of this, the last thing I'm doing is rushing to a decision. Because to your point, there are other situations where even at Virginia Tech, you had somebody who had not been there, who had not been one of the assistants that had been a part of all these one-score losses. You're like, okay, and you've got head coaching experience, Philip Montgomery. You take over. Tim Skipper, who's now the head coach. I mean, we talk about Jerry Neuheisel because he's got gorgeous hair and he looks just like his dad.
It's amazing flow.
It's awesome. But truly, Tim Skipper, that interim coach, had been the interim coach at Fresno State before, when the Fresno State head coach had health issues, Jeff Tedford. So you've got these figures who can be able to take in and be able to guide the rest of the way. I think that the thing that stands out the most to me right now is that the gap between the hubris and arrogance and the performance is massive.
Yes.
And if that continues and the performance doesn't go up and the arrogance and the hubris doesn't come down, then if I was a leadership decision maker, I'd be searching for something else. But I would fear what would happen, because you talk about what people are doing coming into the building. I mean, do you remember how sad it was at the end of the Larry Fedora era?
Super sad.
Those vibes were horrendous. If you're going to try to salvage anything out of this, I think you do see the season through.
Now, I'm guessing somewhere Freddie Kitch is going, you want me to do this again?
Right. Yes.
All our discussions about ACC football, they're brought to you by Bloomin' Blinds. Check them out online at bloominblinds.com. That's blinds.com. 10 or more window treatments, you'll get 10% off. So big thanks to Chris and the crew for sponsoring our ACC football discussions. And of course, our OG After Darks, which we'll get back into After Dark season here soon. I feel like in November, we'll definitely be back up on those After Darks with Carolina Duke, Carolina NC State, that kind of thing. Speaking of NC State, I received a little bit of pushback for my attitude towards the sports phone and what I called the performative, being performatively mad at Dave Dorn for the Notre Dame game. And I think what's really going on here, I get people's points. Like, you ask people to call the sports phone and then you call it performative. I'm like, there's a difference. Like, being legitimately mad when they lose to Virginia Tech, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, but you're walking out of the stadium. The one call that was like dropping an FU, I didn't even pay to watch the game.
Yeah, it's like, okay, we get it.
Okay.
I think what's happening here is FOMO.
Okay.
You know, we had a very, very quiet coaching carousel last year. And there's a separate conversation to be had about the alternate universes. If we were to go into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which Earth version are we talking about where Bubba Cunningham is able to hire the coach he wants as opposed to it being hijacked? But currently in this Earth, we might be headed for, and I don't think I'm wrong because I was going back and looking. We could be headed for NC State and North Carolina looking for a head coach at the same time. Typically, this is offset by a year or two. You know, Chuck Amato comes in. All right, well, like Giglio likes to say, nothing happens in a vacuum.
He does like to say that.
So nothing happens in a vacuum. All right, well, they got Chuck Amato. They revived it. All right, well, now we got to make, this Carl Torbush thing ain't working out. You know what? They got a former guy. We'll bring in our former guy, John Bunting, right? Tom O'Brien. The Butch Davis thing falls apart. Everett Withers, yada, yada, yada. The next year, Larry comes in, the Geo game, all in. Now Tom's got to go. So there's been this like offset stuff that has occurred.
And also think about the response. It was hot G5 coach on the rise, hot G5 coach on the rise.
Now, when I talk about NC State, like, I'm convinced that North Carolina is looking for another coach at the end of the year. And I know with the FOMO that's taking place of all these Power 5 jobs opening up for a variety of reasons, NC State fans want their job to be open because they've hit a point not too dissimilar to James Franklin where it's like, look, man, this is as far as it's going to go here. It's probably time for it won't end like it did for James Franklin. I think it'll end in a more what most people thought would happen with James Franklin. Hey, man, I took this thing as far as we could go. It's a mutual parting of ways, a conscious uncoupling, however you want to put it, and then they go. But this is just pure speculation for NC State and Dave Dorn. We don't know what's going to happen with Dave Dorn. We really do not. And if they salvage a bowl, who's to say that? I don't know who. Again, I don't know. But for the sake of the conversation,
they do have a winning record on October the 16th or 15th.
With very winnable games
against
Pitt and Florida State. We don't know what's going to go on with Georgia Tech because NC State's not going to be ranked. So who knows when it comes to Georgia Tech? All this is to say is that we are potentially headed for both jobs being open at the same time.
Correct. There is, of all the simulations, there is one that definitely has two coaching searches going on at the same time, which, I mean, if you want to speak it into existence, I mean, let's get them numbers up. Let's go.
There is that. So here's the question to ponder.
Yep.
Let's say James Franklin wants to coach.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I know I can go to TV, but man, I want to get right back in it. I want to coach. And I understand there are other jobs that make more sense for James Franklin.
Sure.
But let's strip all that aside. Let's just put it down to this one hypothetical. Okay. Let's go Dr. Strange, and there's only one outcome. In that James Franklin has to decide between the North Carolina job and the NC State job. They both want him. Which one do you take?
North Carolina.
Even with all the political BS?
I think that what you would say is you guys got the spending right.
Mm-hmm.
You just hired the wrong guy who picked the wrong players.
Fair.
My name is James Franklin. I know how to use these kinds of budgets and bring in teams that can go win 10 games. I don't need to go around and fundraise more. You guys already did that.
Mm-hmm.
I can be that guy for you. So I think that North Carolina, because you have conditioned the community to spend at that level, that would be one where you would step into and feel a little bit more comfortable in terms of trusting yourself, your player evaluation. Because that's, I mean, like we've said, They outspent group of 5 schools for group of 5 players. They spent all the money they were supposed to spend. It was just
they just got the wrong coach.
Yeah, it was just the poor player evaluation.
Every so often I'll run into somebody and they say, how have things been going? And I say they've been going good. All the metrics continue to go up, which is good. That's
a healthy signs of a healthy show.
Signs of a healthy show as the metrics slowly and steadily go up. I'll take that over ups and downs and whatnot. And I said, look, things have been going well, but then again, Triangle Sports has helped us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You got the Carolina Hurricanes and they got their Stanley Cup runs. 2024 is a prime example of this with NC State going to the ACC championship and the Final Four. And then you've got the Bill Belichick hiring bonanza, Will Wade, there's been all sorts of stuff that has happened that has definitely helped boost our visibility.
Sure.
But I do think that if everything's coming up OG, both jobs being open at the same time might break the podcast. Don't you think?
Would you pick, if you're James Franklin, would you pick NC State over North Carolina?
I don't know. I haven't, like I said, that's why I brought it up as an interesting mental exercise, because from a football culture side, NC State wants it more.
Correct.
They want it more. And if we know one thing about college football, want sometimes supersedes money.
Sure.
You can have all the money in the world, like North Carolina, but you don't really want it. And we've seen that time and time again in Chapel Hill. And the other reason why I would be hesitant about UNC is all the political crap that has gone on behind the scenes that results in these things. Now, if you were to tell me that John Pryor and all the other guys that have led to a tumultuous couple of years at UNC, they're out, they're no longer on the board, then I might change my opinion. You see what I'm getting at?
I'm sorry. The light bulb just went off. North Carolina wanted so bad to be an SEC program. They were spending like it. They got Bill Belichick. They got a $20 million roster.
Yeah.
They wanted to be Alabama, and they found out they were Auburn. They are in this doom cycle of warring boosters and firing athletic directors and university presidents. I mean, I think about, and you are a fan of college football so that you get this reference. I don't know if everybody understands that Auburn being dysfunctional with warring factions and political battles behind the scenes is just part of the DNA.
It is.
But every now and then, you get this sun run and you break out of 7-5 and 8-4.
You get a Cam Newton.
Hey. Like the 2013 Gus Malzahn, they get the prayer at Jordan Hare and everything just starts to break their way. The kick six and you're like, oh my gosh, this is it. This can happen. And so for North Carolina, you can be one of these SEC programs. It's just, you ain't Alabama.
No.
And so that's why I say the warring factions and the political BS doesn't intimidate me, because that is the norm.
It's the norm. Okay.
And for James Franklin, and this is the unfair comparison, James Franklin just got fired at Penn State, and I'm about to invoke, in my opinion, the greatest college football coach of all time. But Alabama used to be like that, and then Nick Saban brought in the one voice policy.
Yeah.
Which is, I am the one voice at this university. Everybody get in line. I don't know if James Franklin has that.
Yeah.
But that's the only way that you pull everything together and get everyone pulling on the rope in the same way. Indiana has that. Kurt Signetti has a one voice policy. The whole university's pulling in the same direction.
I guess the curiosity that I would have with James Franklin in particular is it's actually not about James Franklin. Actually, you're talking about Alabama and things like that. We're talking about universities that make highly emotional decisions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
you and I were talking about this before we got going, and that, why did James Franklin get fired? And I can come up with all sorts of theories. I'm convinced more than anything that Kurt Signetti going to Oregon had more to do than the 2 losses to Northwestern and UCLA. Hold up. Year 2, this guy's doing something we can't.
Well, and also at the same time, when James Franklin does things that had never happened under James Franklin, that's when you're like,
there's layers to it.
And the star quarterback goes down. It's like, this thing is rotting from the inside.
But you brought up Alabama. Those are also emotional decisions too, because as much as Nick Saban has won, they were headed for an emotional decision with him.
Yes.
Like our friend Bomani Jones likes to point out all the time, people leave Alabama. Let's think about this.
Yep.
Because they know what's coming. I wouldn't be shocked if Kalen DeBoer is the one who actually does it too.
Well, listen, I think Alabama is the betting favorite to win the SEC.
Yeah.
Alabama, we did our second chance expert picks. I've got Alabama winning the national championship. And at the same time, 1 month ago, Alabama residents were saying, if I win the Powerball, I'm going to buy out Kalen DeBoer.
They're built different,
on
man.
Local news.
Built different, man.
Well, if I win it, I'm gonna take the first $70 million and I'm gonna buy out Kalen DeBoer, and then I'm gonna fire the athletic director too. That was the kicker. That's real ball knower. Is that just
the
like
AD?
The man, it was a woman on the street, but like the man on the street interview is not only bringing up, I want to fire the coach, I want to fire the athletic director too.
That's funny. Housekeeping is brought to you by Enovana. Check them out online at enovana.com. Green cleaning solutions.
If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it clean with Enovana.
Occasionally, y'all will see me wearing a hat that is inspired by a certain racing association, or you will see the OG shirt that I was wearing yesterday, and you're saying, Ovies, I got to get that hat. Or where'd you get that shirt? Is it for sale? Maybe. Maybe it's on the Secret Stash. The Secret Stash is within our podcast description and our YouTube description. You'll see a link for it. It says OG Secret Stash. It's stuff that we don't necessarily publicize, but it's there. And if you want to pick it up, by all means, do it. There's even a new NFL team-related hat that you may or may not be interested in. So go to our Secret Stash, theog.shop. Again, that's theog.shop. We also got OG Light. OG Light is available at a variety of different places. It's our beer-flavored beer, thanks to our friends at Bomb Brothers. You can go directly to the source at Bomb Brothers and say, hey, I'd like a case of OG Light. Awesome. In Durham, it'll be available at Beer Study. I'm pretty sure the case just got sent out this week. You can always get it at Longleaf Swine. They got cans of OG Light there. Select Butcher's Markets locations as well. The Raleigh Times here downtown. And you want to go check out some spooky movies at the Rialto? You can get OG Light on draft at the Rialto throughout spooky movie season. And I know the holiday movies will be here pretty soon as well. So we'll keep you up to date on where you can get OG Light. You can get it on draft at a couple different spots like Raleigh Times, at the Rialto. You can get it in cans at places like Longleaf Swine. And of course, our friends at P Street Market in downtown Raleigh as well. Go check them out. Big thanks to our friends at Two Roosters. Check them out online at tworoosters.com. We tell you all the time that it is the best deal at the arena. I just saw the hoodie prices for the Billie Eilish show. $125 for hoodies at Billie Eilish. When I went to go see 9 Inch Nails a few weeks ago, I want to say the 9 Inch Nails hoodies were about $90. So maybe that's a deal. But it's not quite the deal that the Slave and Sunday is at the arena. When the Canes come back to Lenovo Center, get you some, along with those little hockey pucks, which are fantastic. Now, speaking of the Lenovo Center, yesterday we were joking around. We were having fun with the tiers of extremely online Caniacs. One of those tiers I dubbed Oops, All Canes. And they might not realize there's a basketball team that plays inside that building along with the hockey team. You saw my point. I hope you understood what I was getting at there. But with NC State's basketball season coming around the corner, get hyped for it with Two Roosters this Sunday from 3 to 5 at the Lake Boone location. Colt Langdon and Matt Abel are going to be there from 3 to 5 at the Two Roosters location on Lake Boone Trail. Come out, hang out, and have a good time. Big thanks to NC Grill Rescue. You can check them out online at ncgrillrescue.com. Again, that's ncgrillrescue.com. You might be thinking, wait, I'll wait till it gets super, super cold out and I'm not grilling anymore before I do anything. Actually, right now would be a good time to do it. You're in between seasons, so to speak. You're coming off the summer and a little bit of that early fall, some of the tailgating, but right around the corner, you're going to be doing some entertaining. Whether it's Thanksgiving, Christmas, you're going to have a lot of people over. You might be making those big meals. You might be using the smokers, the grills, all that stuff to do it. Get that deep clean now. Schedule it today and get ready for that holiday run of entertaining. So check them out online at ncgrillrescue.com. Again, that's ncgrillrescue.com. Maybe you've been thinking about doing a whole new outdoor kitchen setup. You've got one. You want to keep it fresh. You want to maintain it. That's why you contact NC Grill Rescue, right? So go to ncgrillrescue.com. But let's say you don't have one. You want to do one, and it's going to require you to refinance. Not a problem. Go to millerlending.com/theog. Again, that's millerlending.com/theog, or call them directly at 919-447-3377. If you've been thinking about refinancing to use the equity in your home for any number of home projects, have the conversation with Gordon Miller and the crew over there. See if it's the right time to do it. Maybe you hold off for 6 months to kind of see where the rates are going. And more importantly, you don't pay closing costs. So after you do this, and you might find yourself in a situation, say, in a year, and you have to refinance again for any number of reasons, you're not sweating it because you never paid closing costs. You're not trying to break even on anything. So hit them up online at millerlending.com/theog. You take that thing to close, you're going to get a Raleigh Wine Shop gift basket from us here at the OG. Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline is Walker Mehl. He is with WFNZ Locked On Hornets podcast, and it looks like you're not still stuck at the Greensboro Coliseum for an exhibition game.
Oh, no. I mean, we can't do anything, man. There's always got to be something. Just we're in a preseason game. It doesn't matter. There has to be some sort of dysfunction somewhere, somehow. No, I'm here. I'm in Charlotte. I'm okay.
A buddy of mine was sending me pictures about, like, can the Hornets do anything right? I'm like, well, how much is the Hornets and how much of it is Greensboro Coliseum? But still, it showed you that people are actually hype about the Hornets, man.
Yeah, right. Except I can't help but be reminded of, hurtful times with you bringing up a factor of dysfunction immediately. And also I'm looking at the screen where Chip is wearing a Bobcat shirt right now. So I can't get away from it. We are hype around here. It's a fun product. At the very least, it looks like it's going to be entertaining. That's what we hypothesized this offseason. It looks entertaining in the preseason. So there's reason for optimism.
Okay, well, that's good. That's good. Just like there's a bunch of optimism with the Carolina Panthers this week, getting to 500 for the first time in 4 years?
You know what it is? They are 500 for the first time since Cam Newton announced, I'm back, week 10, 2021.
Jeez.
Great. Now this feels fantastic.
Yeah,
now this doesn't feel cursed at all.
Because we know how the rest of that season went.
It's all good.
I'm assuming I have not had a chance to listen to WFNZ this week, but please tell me somebody on that radio station has floated the possibility that the Jets game is the first trap game the Carolina Panthers have played in half a decade.
Everybody is so scared of success that's the only thing. The only reason it's Mac and Bone who were first to it because they're on at 6 a.m. And everybody has talked about the trap game being right here with the Jets because we can't have nice things around here. That's just what we've known in the Tepper era. And so you're right. As soon as you see a winless team without their best player in Garrett Wilson and Justin Fields having negative 10 net passing yards in a game, we still can't feel so comfortable because, and Vegas can't either, by the way, despite all of those things, Carolina's only a 1.5 point favorite, So, but yes, people have realized there is great potential for a trap game.
Where it really solidified for me was Monday night with the Bills losing, because the Bills losing to Atlanta gives the Panthers a transitive property win, but they also have an opportunity for a real win over the Bills the following week. So if you're hype about, oh man, the Bills look gettable, we're running the damn ball, we could be 500 going into that game, feeling frisky. That's when the trap game mentality showed up for me. It's like, man, it's there for you, but you got to show me something against the Jets. So I can see where people are a little cautiously optimistic going into Sunday's game against.
Well, it's a roller coaster of emotions. You're right. Like you know the Jets are in front of you. It's a trap game. You can't feel too good about beating anybody. You're the Carolina Panthers, but you can't help but also feel good just a little bit with, all right, well, the Bills were supposed to be a team that was a scheduled loss. That doesn't look to be a scheduled loss anymore. But Buffalo struggles, particularly in an area where the Carolina Panthers have shown strength. Okay, so now we're talking about some matchup advantages.
It's at home.
Although I will say Buffalo fans, they are surrounding us all over the place in Charlotte. But yes. I don't want to. No, let's bring it back. Let's bring the good feelings back. Yes, it is at home. So yeah, I think it's a roller coaster of emotions because you have two sides of the coin on every single conversation about Carolina. It's Miami. Hey, great win. You fell 17-0 at the beginning of the game, but kudos to Bryce for bringing him back. He played really well in the second half. but also that's a terrible defense. But you followed it up with another win against Dallas with a great offense, but also their defense is absolutely terrible. So you go back and forth. It's classic glass half full, half empty approach. And ultimately, what it probably means is the Panthers are right where they're supposed to be, given where they wanted to be in 2026. Like I've always been a believer, and they've set themselves up to really go after a postseason berth in 2026 because you still have Bryce on his rookie deal. Let's just say it works for him. He's still on his rookie deal. You've done enough to help some of the real issues the last couple of years by getting better against the run. That seems to be real. So, okay, your run defense is better. Your rushing attack, you're starting to run the football. Dave Canales told us that he wanted to be stubborn running the ball. That never really had a chance to happen because of negative game script stuff. They're just constantly playing from behind. Now they're ahead and they're able to run it. So that's good. They're making progress. It feels like they're on track. And it didn't look like that, of course, after the New England game. So I think that's where you start to settle in the takery of it all. They seem to be on track. We can't get too high, too low, baby. It's just let's enjoy it. We're 500 for the first time in what seems like forever. And you have some favorable matchups coming up.
Walker, we've been talking a lot about, different timelines. What if different things go one way or the other? What if Dylan Tiananmen doesn't reach up and grab the interception? Penn State beats Oregon and everything that follows. Are we in a different timeline? But this is the timeline that we're in. But play a thought experiment with me. Let's say Fitzgerald hooks the field goal, or let's say the conversion doesn't happen. Let's say the Dallas Cowboys do end up winning a very close and competitive game. Yeah. Are you still able to look at the Carolina Panthers going into these next couple games with the same optimism, or have those very small margin wins, which in the NFL, I understand that's the whole game of it all. Are you still able to feel comfortable about where the Panthers are at this point in the season?
Well, probably not, especially because I think about the Dallas game, and so much of the good feelings in that Dallas game come from Bryce delivering in the clutch moments and in the fourth quarter. And so I guess in this world, okay, if Bryce does bring them to a Ryan Fitzgerald field goal attempt and he misses a short one, then maybe you could still feel good about what Bryce showed and what this running attack did against that Dallas Cowboys defense, except then you would feel like there is something something bigger at play. Why can't we get over the hump even when we play pretty well? Something still is going to happen to this Panthers team. I think for the most part, people would still feel pretty good about what Bryce did against Dallas and what Bryce did against Miami in the second half. Look, that Dallas offense, they stopped the run against them, and Javonte Williams has been balling out, balling out this year. So that's real, right? There's no caveat to them stopping the run against Dallas. That was a real rushing attack, except George Pickens absolutely destroyed Mike Jack, who had been very good at the beginning of the year. So, yeah, I mean, it's this give and take. I think you still would have been able to come away with some good feelings, especially about Bryce, which ultimately is what matters most. But, yeah, like winning, it helps to win, and the Panthers haven't done a whole lot of that in a while.
You mentioned Bryce Young. That's where I was going to go next. And you touched on it, but I do think this is the more interesting aspect of all of this. I give the Panthers credit, and this is what bothers me about social media. It's like I'm sitting here literally saying in bold type, Panthers deserve a lot of credit in a wide open, wonky NFL season with a bunch of backup quarterbacks that you thought were just lifer backup quarterbacks having renaissance. Baker Mayfield, Daniel Jones, Geno Smith, Sam Darnold, right? Why are they all? Some of them are Panthers quarterbacks. Neither here nor there. The Panthers deserve credit for going out there and doing what you're supposed to do in a matchup that favors you. So the last 2 weeks, Rico Dowdle has balled out because they're going up against poor defenses. The Dolphins are one of the worst run defenses in the NFL. Dallas, they traded away one of the best players in the NFL, and shockingly, their defense has dropped off because of it. And Rico Dowdle was able to take advantage of the fact that their passing numbers are poor. Rico really, I thought, feasted in that situation. So I assign a lot of this to Dave Canales looking at the matchups and the Panthers executing on said matchups by running the damn ball. Bryce has a lot to clean up, but you also have to give him credit for making the throws that are necessary when it's time to make them. And it's we're in a really weird spot of judging Bryce, still judging Bryce as the overall number one pick in the draft and everything you gave up to get him versus what he actually is. If he was drafted in the second round or later in the first round and you didn't give up all those assets, you're probably looking at Bryce and going, yeah, this could work. But because of all the context around Bryce, there are still people who are convinced this ain't it. Where do you kind of fall on this right now?
Well, I mean, so this goes back to a conversation we had leading up to Dallas. We did classic radio fodder comparing your quarterback to the other quarterback on the opposite side. And we said, okay, because of the discourse that surrounds Dak Prescott, would you be okay if Bryce Young becomes Dak? Now, of course, I said, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I would love Bryce Young to become Dak Prescott. But there are many people on the world famous WFNZ text line who, no, I don't want him to be Dak. He's the number 1 overall pick. He needs to play like it. And it's just, we hold those slots that guys are drafted at so close. It doesn't matter after they play an NFL down. Like it does in some ways, but in terms of, do you want your number 1 overall pick to play like Dak? Well, if Dak is playing like an MVP candidate, then yes. I would like Bryce Young to reach that point at some point in time, right? So, yeah, I think a lot of people are measuring Bryce against the slot where he was picked. And no, he doesn't look, I guess, like your prototypical number 1 overall draft pick. He's not playing like that. But I think all you want is a guy that you can win with, as long as the front office, they're making good decisions, supplementing him with the requisite talent, which has not happened in quite some time. And I really give Dan Morgan a lot of credit, where it was a little dicey for a little bit early in his tenure, but it's still early in his tenure. And now we're starting to see, I think, the fruits of the draft selections and the work that they put in the offseason. And so I think Bryce is showing you, if you give me enough talent, I'm not going to ruin it for you in a lot of ways. The turnovers, they were a huge issue at the beginning of this season. And, after the first half against Miami, he started to get better there. We have seen Bryce play pretty careful football last year in that second stretch that he had. He didn't turn it over a ton. So, I think people still hold that number 1 slot against Bryce quite a bit when we do need to just reset our expectations and then go from there. I do think Panthers fans have a hard time doing that.
So back to the Hornets. We'll wrap up this conversation. Playoffs? Is that the baseline?
Oh, you got to get it to play in.
That's the baseline, right?
Playoffs. Playoffs is not the baseline. No.
Play in, then?
Play. I would like to get to the play-in. That'd be great. Yeah.
Okay. You and Chip are like the only people that I know in real life that actually, who actually care about the Hornets.
Well, and I don't want to pose here, because I have had to let go a little bit, but truthfully, Walker, my origin story in this business is sitting in classes at the University of North Carolina, working on the Insider Bobcats blogspot.com and exchanging information and posts and stuff with other NBA bloggers. This is 2007, 2008, that. This, truthfully, is something that I probably hold more dear than I am riding and dying and staying up every single night to watch every single game. So it will always be a family member in my heart, but I cannot step to what you and Nada and Kyle and everybody else have gone through during this decade of despair.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's
when it comes to the Hornets.
Yeah, I don't. No,
I get it.
I've got to do a self-care Tuesday.
I get it.
Tuesday. I'm just not watching.
And you deserve that self-care Tuesday. You deserve that for writing about the Bobcats all those years ago. My co-host on Locked On Hornets, Doug Branson, has a very similar story. Just grew up loving the Hornets, but also once he got involved in some level of media, he came up with the Podcats. That's right. Yeah. So the Podcats, he started talking about them quite a bit, and he hasn't had a break even longer than I have. I started doing the Locked On Hornet stuff 2018. Before that, I got into radio in some capacity hosting in 2016. So I got in at the Hornets got to the postseason, and they haven't been to the postseason since. And my first shows were months after their last playoff appearance. So I have not had a chance to talk about a playoff appearance yet. Will I get to do that this year? I don't think they're going to make the playoffs this season, even with the Eastern Conference being down, even with having stars that are injured with Achilles injuries like Halliburton, Jason Tatum, all those guys. But I do think that, kind of similar to the Panthers in a way, I think the Hornets have done a real and even a better job in some ways for the Hornets. I think they've done a better job setting themselves up for the future and also providing an entertaining product to get there and kind of have this serve as this bridge year. Except the problem with other bridge attempts they've not made any progress, right? They've actually gone down the last few years. They had 19 wins last season because of the injuries and lack of talent. It's been terrible. This year, man, just awesome business getting Colin Sexton essentially for free. And now because everybody is scared to spend money this past offseason, they're all saving their money up for next offseason when the free agent market has plenty of players to choose from. Trey Mann, who's a really good player and got hurt last year, you bring him back for like $8 million a year. I'm a bigger fan of our center rotation than others. I think there's something there for this Hornets team. I'm looking at like 33 wins, play-in tournament appearance, and then hopefully we can not get blown out by 30 once we get to the play-in. That's the thing. Get to the play-in tournament and be competitive. If you were looking for a North Star, that's my North Star.
So what you're saying is you're yearning to have a guy courtside in a purple headband taunting D Wade again.
No,
we just had this conversation yesterday. In fact, so purple shirt guy, green bandana guy. What do you think? We were asking what he did with that purple shirt. This was just a conversation we had yesterday. Like, did he hang it? Did he frame it?
No.
Does he still wear it? Like, is it burned?
I hope if he has it, I want it. I'll put it next to my Rantanen jersey.
Yeah.
How much do you think that's worth? Because
probably not worth it.
$19.
Yeah, it's gotta cost less than an NBA Summer League championship T-shirt. So that's what I would say about that.
Well, everything does.
I know, right?
Your first payment on a house costs less than that.
All right, so you and Julian Council, this is a little behind the scenes here. You and Julian Council both do podcasts for Locked On. He does Locked On Panthers. You do Locked On Hornets. Like in the Locked On internal emails, do you guys get lauded for doing this for two organizations that really give you no reason to love them?
Not as much as we should.
Like
no.
you should. I feel like Locked On should give an award to, hey,
well,
guys,
real
troopers, you keep showing up.
Well, I mean, what happened, especially because we've been doing it pretty long. We've been doing the Locked On Hornets podcast for a long time, again, since 2018.
Yeah.
No, what ends up happening is when we do these group episodes, we end up playing the Oppression Olympics, and then everybody tries to take the gold medal from me, and I don't understand why.
There's no way. How could they?
Just any level of self-awareness, please. The Matt George, who hosts Locked On Kings, you got a case.
Okay.
You got to a conference finals, though.
Yeah.
Done.
Zero.
Your case is done. Like here's
wins, right?
And
0 7-game series wins.
Yeah. And
here's your silver medal. You got to a conference final.
For me, my older son, Caleb, who doesn't really care about sports, when he can tell that Council sounds miserable, but this is before getting to 500, he's like, he does this every day? I go, yeah, dude, he does it every day. He's like, woof.
Yeah,
hey, man, you guys
no
are
breaks. No, there's no
Walker,
break.
we appreciate the time as always, man. We'll see if the Hornets give us something to care about this year. I'm not trying to be facetious. Like I'm legitimately hoping, like, all right, guys, let's go. Let's get with
I know. Like my tone doesn't help either. Like I've been hurt so many times before. There is reason for optimism. So
okay, good.
You should have some optimism.
Perfect.
I appreciate the time, guys.
Big thanks to Walker from WFNZ for hanging out with us to talk about the Panthers and a little bit about the Hornets. We're going to talk about the Carolina Hurricanes here in a second, which means it's about time for a hockey break.
Let's take a break. Let's take a hockey break. Brought to you by Happy and Mehl.
We tell you all the time about the app. Download the app today. Use that promo code OG25. You'll get 25% off your first order on the app. I will admit that I've been reluctant to download apps for certain places. I want to go in, get out, etc. But as I've joked, we're in that time of the year where I feel like I'm running to every rink around the triangle, along with trying to do podcast stuff. I do not have time. So the app has come through in the clutch. Order it, schedule a pickup time, in, out, you're good to go. And if you haven't done it yet, use that promo code OG25 with our friends at Happy and Hail. Big thanks to Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. I know Joe's talked about it in relation to moisture. We've had a lot of rain lately. It's been a very rainy 2025. It might lead to some moisture issues, some dampness that leads to larger problems. Hey, Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority go beyond just those quarterly pest control treatments or the mosquito treatments once a month like I use for the outside of my house. You can do some stuff for the crawl space as well. So hit them up. Find out what you can do. Bugsbite.com. It's Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. Speaking of phone calls, Have you called Matt Davis yet? Matt Davis, InsureGarner.com, State Farm, 919-779-8277. Again, that's 919-779-8277. You probably have not thought about your home and auto insurance in a long time. You thought, hey, you know what? My rate's fine. Is it? Look, there's always ways to save money, but you're not going to find out how to save money unless you have the conversation with Matt Davis. So hit him up, State Farm, 919-779-8277 or InsureGarner.com. Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline, play-by-play for the Carolina Hurricanes, he is Mike Maniscalco. Although, Mike, we're not getting a lot of that so far in the first 3 games of the season, are we?
No. In fact, I don't really think there's much of that at all. You can drop it down to maybe one extra I for the references out there for the old schoolers, Joe. But this is, if you're the Hurricanes, this is the start that, especially with how this 6-game road trip is going to finish, this is the start that you wanted to have. And, I can be dramatic and say you had to have. As of, you and I talking about this, that the team started off 3-0 and then a chance to improve to 4-0, taking on a much improved Anaheim Ducks team when they face off tonight.
Mike Maniscalco, throughout the Cane season, is brought to you by our friends at Brassfield Accounting. Chris in Homer, Alaska, is going to be your fractional CFO. Just like I guess the Canes might be going through a fractional backup goalie type situation as the season goes on. But in the meantime, if you need a fractional CFO, contact our guy, Chris Brassfield. Again, that's brassfieldaccounting.com. Let's actually start there with Bussy. And I don't want to take away from the moment. I thought he played well and got the Canes out of some jams early. But the Canes also have a knack still, even without Jacob Slavin in the lineup, to do the thing where you and I will never see a shot type of thing. And that's what I think the 8th time in franchise history the Canes went through a period without allowing a shot from the other team. So I think what I will always appreciate about Rod Brind'Amour and what this team is, they know what the moment is and what they're playing with, and they'll go out there and execute. And I thought that's what the key was on Tuesday night against San Jose.
Yeah, but let's pick up this story from the beginning with Brandon Bussy. He was, in the first period, outstanding. I mean, I think the shots, I had the score sheet, and of course, when you're on the road, where are things?
Who knows where they are? Yes,
exactly. But I think he faced 10 shots in the first period, and of the 10, I would say 5 were high danger chances, and he was brilliant. And more importantly, they were power play opportunities for the Sharks, and the Sharks coming into the game were really good on the power play. Now, it's a small sample size. It's only 2 games, but San Jose came into that game, as you can hear me scratch for this one. They were 3 for 8. Exactly. Oh, I'm old school, baby. But they were 3 for 8, but they've got dangerous young players on the power play. They get 4 power plays right off the hop, right? And we're talking in the first period and early into the second. And the Canes stymied them. Now let's bring in the one thing that is a little bit of burying the lead. You do it without Jacob Slavin, who's injured, who's still back. He's with you in Raleigh with this lower body situation that he's going through. And they still put that defensive performance on the ice. Right. So this is why I chuckle when people talk about the Hurricanes and like, well, I don't know about this and I don't know about that. They do this every single game. This is how they play. And it's not a machine. The parts do matter because you're way better with Slavin than without, but you can plug in Mike Riley, but now you're getting 11-year veterans who know how to play the game in the depth of this team that are coming in there. You have Paul Schoenfelder identify that, hey, look, I think we're going to lose Caden Primo if we put him on waivers, who looked really good in the preseason as their third goalie. But I've got a guy who I think that would really fit with what we do. And then you bring in Bussy, and he makes the big saves. And, okay, now the guys in front of him get a little bit more confidence, Joe. And it's like, oh, we don't got to worry about this guy? Yeah. Okay, let's go. And then, you see the offense open up. And then they just hung on to pucks. And for me, the quote of the postgame came from Ryan Warsofsky, the former AHL coach in the Hurricanes organization, now the Sharks head coach. And he goes, that was men against boys. Talking about how the Canes played against his. By the way, he's not off. He has 3 teenagers in his lineup, but like that's how it's supposed to look. What the Canes were doing on Tuesday night, but Bussy was a huge story, and then. You look back and go, oh, they did that without Jacob Slavin. They only allowed 17 shots and none in the third period. Okay.
Yeah. So let's touch on Slavin real quick before we get to how Bussy ends up here and the thought process with the Canes going back to Primo, because I know there was some hand wringing about that process.
Sure.
I know Slavin came into camp and through preseason and was dealing with the lower body concern. We'll just leave it. We'll leave it in very basic hockey terms here. But I guess maybe I misread this, but Rod Brind'Amour indicated or at least confirmed that there was nothing procedurally done with Jacob Slavin. This is just something that might be nagging him, something to keep an eye on. And as you mentioned, he's here. Is this just, hey man, it's a long season. You got an Olympic break. Let's just get through this without you. We'll be fine. Or is there more concern here with Slavin that he tried to give it a go after a rest in the preseason? And now we're here 3 games in the season and he's not on this road trip.
I'm going to go with the first part of what you asked. I think it's that this is an 82-game season. There is going to be an Olympic break. While you don't make the playoffs in the first month of the season, I know you can miss it. We've seen it in years past. Yeah. But this is a guy that you have to have in your lineup, and you have to have him as close to 100% as possible. Or you don't want him at the end of the year playing through something nagging, where if he can sit out, if he sits out the first month, whatever it is, and that's, by the way, they don't tell me anything on the injury reports. I have to throw that one out. But if it means if he sits out this 6-game road trip, but he'll be better at the end of it, then you do it. And you don't even give it a second thought. Now, I mean, the worrier in me will be, okay, I hope this isn't something more. But the one thing that Rod also said is after the second game of the season, the win over the Flyers, that he was dealing with a little something that was related to why he didn't play any preseason games, but it wasn't that. Meaning it was like a side effect of whatever it is. So, but he didn't have anything procedurally done. So that to me is always a good thing, because whenever you have to have somebody have some kind of surgery to repair something, the question is, okay, is it back to where it needs to be? But at this point with a player like that, why would you push it, especially with the way that this season goes? And, I've seen enough now. You've seen enough now where guys have missed the entire season with long-term, the injured reserve, the great magic loophole that everybody can use. And then they show up for the playoffs and they're great. Yeah. I don't think it's that situation, but what I'm saying is the Canes have a good enough team that they know that they are a playoff team, but he's the guy who you're going to really need when you get into April, May, and June. So why push it now? There's no reason to, Joe.
So I preface this by saying and understanding that goalies are voodoo. And I also I see it. I see it at the youth level now, seasons of youth hockey, man. You have a kid in tears one day and then he balls out and he sees 40 shots and he has a shutout. Like, I don't know, man. Like, goalies are voodoo. Okay. But the Canes seem to have a pretty deep roster of potential backup goalies. Am I like misunderstanding this? It just seems like you've got Kochetkov. Kochetkov's dealing with an injury issue, but there's a bunch of guys in the system that they seem might be the guy. People thought that Primo might be that guy. He was a storyline in the preseason. We all get the connection of why Rod Brind'Amour's here, and now he's got his kid on the roster before he did not clear waivers. And there was some second guessing in that process when we got to this point with Kochetkov. And we saw the result with Bussy. So what is really going on behind the scenes with that position? And what's the timetable on Kochetkov?
There right now, to me, there's no timetable on Kochetkov other than, he's dealing with something. And it's funny because he came out of the last preseason game in Nashville fine. Yeah. Like there was nothing that I saw. I think that this is, something that the goalies deal with, especially getting back into the season and trying to get where you need to go. And, you can really exercise. And the Canes, Joe, I know we can look at this as a negative, and I'm not trying to be like, hey, this is awesome. It's not that the house is on fire. It's not the I'm fine meme. Everything's fine meme. It's not that. Right. But it's the Canes are now in a place where, in years past, it would have to be, you got to get this guy on the ice as quick as you can because we can't win without him and X, Y, and Z. Well, now it's, we're so deep organizationally. Don't rush any of these guys back. We know we're a playoff team. So why would we put any of that in danger by risking a guy back and really losing him for the season and not having him for the playoffs? That's how I look at what Carolina's been able to do. Now, as far as the goaltending situation goes, you've got a couple of question marks once you get past where we are right now with Brandon Bussey. Is Amir Miftikov a guy who you can trust in an NHL game? You want to see him play in the AHL. You want to see Kazayev get as much opportunity to turn himself into a goaltender who can, all right, when you got to call him up, he's ready to go. The good thing for me is when you talk about the Canes and the goalies who they put behind the NHL team, I mean, we've seen them win, and we're going back to years ago. We saw them win with an e-bug in Toronto, right? So clearly what the guys do in front of the goalies matters. The goalies ultimately stop the pucks that come their way, but that's why this team is kind of confident. But they have a great system with Jason Mazzotti, who now oversees, the goaltending for the organization, and he's the guy checking in on players in Chicago and now Greensboro and keeping tabs. Hey, if this guy comes available, we want him. But so does Paul Schoenfelder. Like Paul Schoenfelder tirelessly is looking at other goalies in other organizations, going, this guy comes up, he'd be really good for us. That's how they identified Bussey. That's how when Caden Primo couldn't reach a deal, and Montreal was like, oh, we're going to lose him. The team's like, all right, we'll give you a 7th for a guy who, and then you hope you can get him through. And by the way, and this is nothing against Brandon Bussey, but keep your eye on Toronto, where if they ever have to waive Caden Primo, I'm sure that the Canes would love to bring him back. Like that's my guess, because they were good enough to go trade for him. But they know what their goalie situation is, right? It's Freddie Anderson, it's Pyotr Kochetkov, and they know at some point in time they need a guy who can just hold the door for a couple of starts. Well,
Hodor.
Starts, yeah.
They need a goalie named Hodor. No, the reason you got the Freddie Anderson, I was actually having.
I did not want to laugh that much.
So I was having a conversation with somebody the other day related to the goalies, and I'm like, it's fine. I mean, the Canes have had, like, we could easily do let's remember some dudes over the last couple of years for people who've had to step in. You mentioned David Ayers. That's the obvious one, but I'm probably like, there was a Spencer Martin at some point. Like, there's all sorts of things that are there. I think the question becomes, can they get through the regular season knowing that Freddie Anderson is fine, but Freddie Anderson has not had a particular workload through the course of a regular season, because you have to make sure he's ready to go and locked in for the playoffs as well. It's funny, the calculus and how we talk about the Carolina Hurricanes through the regular season is so vastly different than where we were 10 years ago. Right?
Absolutely.
You're talking about this road trip can make or break the playoffs. Yeah, in 2015. Now we're sitting here talking about, all right, what long game, long theory of how can you make sure that Anderson doesn't deal with too much of a workload? Do they have enough behind him with Kochetkov that this can be fine? That's the only question I have.
Yeah, and they do. And I think that they've shown it. And go back to the funny thing, Joe, is you don't have to go back that far. Go back to last year when they picked up Dustin Tokarski. And I mean, I'm not exaggerating when I'm saying that Dustin Tokarski was literally sitting on his couch when he got the call.
Right.
And he comes in and he plays some big games. We've seen the Canes do this with a lot of goaltenders. Alex Lyon, who now is the number one mantle in Buffalo because of their injury situation. But Alex Lyon really kickstarted his career by coming to Carolina, and he won a huge game against St. Louis. I think I got to go back to, it was either the first or second year of Rod's tenure as the head coach. And, it was a win that they needed. And it might have been a little bit more recent than that, because I remember Antti Raanta was on the roster. So apologies to that. But it's like, this is a team that when they have dipped into, we need these goalies, again, the system, the way that they play now, they can have a little bit, the goalies have confidence playing in it. And then the team, when they see that the goalie is competent, they have the confidence off of that. So what this does now, back to the Freddie Anderson question, which will be there.
Yeah,
I do think that the plan this year was a straight rotation. Like it was going to be 41 for Pyotr Kochetkov, 41 for Frederik Andersen, because that way you're not taxing either of them. You're giving them both the share to keep them sharp, and you go from there. And I think now that Brandon Bussey had that performance against San Jose. You know what you can do when we head to LA? You can be like, LA is a really good defensive team. They've got some offensive talent, but you know what? We think we can win with this guy. So,
Okay.
You know what, Freddie? Don't worry about playing against LA. Get ready because we got to go to, Vegas after that. Or you don't have to look at this now and go, oh, well, it lays out where if we want to, we could play Freddie every game on this trip because there's a day off or 2 days off in between some games here. You now have the confidence of like, no, you can give them more time on this trip because of the way that Bussey performed in San Jose.
Also, if everybody's going to be getting on the score sheet, that also helps for the Carolina. There's two ways to win a hockey game, Mike. You can prevent the other team from scoring more goals than you, or you can just straight up score more goals than them. And so far, I mean, what are we missing? 4 guys on the score sheet so far? 3 games in the new guys have gotten involved. Your old reliables that you expect a lot from, they've gotten involved. What, like 4 guys missing right now?
Yeah, of 20 skaters have appeared in one of the 3 games, or however you want to look at it,
sure.
And 16 guys are on the score sheet. I mean, that's pretty impressive. If you want me to give you so who are the 4? Well, Jacob Slavin,
right?
He's only played 2. Mark Jankowski, who just got into the rotation
the night, right?
in San Jose, and then the other 2 are Nikolai Ehlers and Andrei Svechnikov. And I know that this is the we can't have nice things portion of the world. The fact that you are 3-0 and you have put up 15 goals in those 3 games, and those 2 players are not on the score sheet.
Yeah,
I would tell everybody, I'm like, don't worry about it, relax about it. But here's the thing: Ehlers and Svechnikov have really contributed to 4 goals. But they are and you know this because you're with youth hockey, you don't have 3 assists on a goal, you have 2. But sometimes it's the guy who starts the play who really should get the assist and doesn't. And Ehlers and Svechnikov have had a couple of those plays here in the early going, and they get shots on goal. That's the other thing. I would be worried if Nikolai Ehlers wasn't getting chances right now. He is, and his line mates are scoring too, right? So Aho and Jarvis, that's the thing. Aho and Jarvis are scoring. So when you run these plays where you go low to high, we're going to go, let's go full inside hockey, Joe. But I've seen Ehlers make a play at the goal line. He goes up to Shane Gostisbehere. Shane Gostisbehere then goes to Sebastian Aho, who then finds a man by the name of Seth Jarvis, who has 3 goals on the season right now. So I know one of those was in overtime, and Ehlers wasn't on the ice for that. But I'm just saying, like, that's where it happens. Like, Ehlers has made a play where then it goes to 2 other guys, and then it ends up in the back of the net. Svechnikov has a huge net drive, middle lane drive, that creates a goal against New Jersey. And if he doesn't do that, then there's no goal on that play. So that's the thing. And I'm trying to cut this one off at the head because I've noticed some people, I actually put this stat up on whatever Elon's site is called. And
Twitter.
Yeah. Thank you. I want to keep it there if we're going to keep it there.
Yeah.
But I put that up and, I'm thinking this is just a really nice stat, right?
Yeah.
Look at this. And of course there's this. And okay, that's fine.
See, Mike, you have to, we might have to bring you back, like when you're back in town. We might have to do an addendum to my tiers of extremely online Caniacs.
I did see that.
I dropped.
I did read it. Yeah,
I got 8. We did a segment on it yesterday, bouncing it off of Giglio, and that is not in the prospect knower tier. Like my favorite tier, the Mr. Work Rate tier, if you will. Where it's like, great that the Canes won 5-0, but why isn't Bradley Nadeau in the lineup, Mike?
No,
it was 7-1 if Bradley Nadeau was in the lineup.
Yeah, but in a previous life, there were people who would argue that, and I mean, it was also in the days when the Canes were, you need goals, and this guy is scoring here, and okay, I get that, but at the same time, I'm like, if they needed goals, don't you think they'd be up here if they felt they could play?
Yeah, maybe tier 9 is well actually guy, but that's just social media. Social media has nothing but well actually guys on it. So.
I did read your tiers, and every franchise has it,
of course,
but the one, and I'm trying to remember which one it was, but basically it's this is why we can't have nice things tier.
Yeah.
and that kind of goes along too.
That's the one.
That has
Why isn't Ehlers on the board, Mike?
that has tentacles that touch everywhere. And the question is, goalies have made a couple of really good saves on them.
Yeah.
So
What are you gonna
that's
do?
why.
What are you gonna do? So things ramp up from here. I know that the road trip started out with what you would consider light work, but it's going to get a little progressively more difficult on this road trip, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The Ducks, they are one of these young and up and coming teams that everybody is looking at and saying, hey, they could be better.
Mhm.
They've got Joel Quenneville as their head coach. We know the story with Joel Quenneville, why he was out of hockey. But he is back in, and I am sure that the Ducks are going to, as far as what he does as a coach and the structure he brings, especially for some of these young guys, are going to be better off for it. I mean, they're 2-1 to start the year.
Mhm.
Then you get into for my money, I think these are the three best teams in the West. I'm not trying to, disparage Edmonton or Winnipeg. I think they're really good teams, but you got Vegas, Colorado, Dallas. Those, to me, I think they should be 1, 2, 3 in the who do you think is going to go to the Stanley Cup out of the West. And I know that the Oilers have gone 2 years in a row, and Connor McDavid has taken less money for the Oilers to be better. Well, that's great. That'll be really more next year than this year.
Yeah.
And they'll get in, and they do have the two best players on the planet. But team-wise, those are the three I look at on paper. So this is going to be where, now you're a gamer, we're leveling up, right? Boss one, you got through Glass Joe. Sorry, San Jose. But, now that the punch-out opponents are going to get a little bit tougher as this road continues.
One thing I did not bring up on the tiers of Extremely Online Caniacs, there is a final boss to Extremely Online Caniacs. Do you know who the final boss is?
Is it somebody we worked with?
Adam Gold. He is the final boss.
Yes, he is.
Like Punch Out, you just got to figure out the Mike Tyson pattern, right?
The blink. You got to wait for the blink.
You just got to wait for Adam to blink on a cane steak, and then bam, you're right on it. But he is the final boss of Extremely Online because he never sleeps. He is a machine. He'll tweet at you at 3 a.m. Look out. Look out.
He's now had it wired into his brain where it's just actually, while he's sleeping, his subconscious can actually tweet.
You mentioned Elon. I bet you Adam got the neural net thing.
Yeah.
That's what he did. So he could just, even when I'm sleeping, I'm still providing cane steaks on
it's right there. It's put right by the cerebellum. Maybe base of spine stuff. I don't know.
Mike Maniscalco, Canes play-by-play. All right, man. We'll talk to you next week.
You got it, Joe. Thanks.
Big thanks to Rowback. They brought you the OG Golf Classic earlier this year. It was a great time. Love to see everybody showing up at that event with their Rowback polos. Hopefully they all use the promo code OG20, just like I did last night. OG20 is the promo code at rowback.com. You'll get 20% off your order. I went ahead and I did it. I ordered the brown version, the cocoa version of the layering shirt jacket. It's super, super comfortable. I had to get it in the other color. So I did last night, along with the Ready crew neck. I'm excited to see that one. I got an all black Ready crew neck. I'm excited for that one. It looks very, very comfortable. Look, there's something about their blends that are just like butter when it comes to the hoodies and the crew necks and things like that. So I'm looking forward to getting that in the mail relatively soon. If you have not used that promo code, do it now. It's the perfect time to get into shorts and hoodie season. Rowback.com is the website. RHOBACK.com. If you've already used that promo code, I'm not saying you need to use another email, but I'm just saying maybe use another email. Hopefully our friends at Whitaker and Hamer don't find out. No, I'm kidding. Whitaker and Hamer, attorneys and counselors at law. They can help your small business, your personal legal needs, like a traffic ticket, whatever. We might have to use them for OG Birthday Bash 3, for waiver liability issues. If we do any sort of games, right? Maybe you need to find yourself out of a coaching contract. Hey, hit them up. WH.lawyer. Again, that's WH.lawyer. And of course, our friends at Hometown Realty. Check them out online at myhtr.com. Again, that's myhtr.com. You can buy and sell with confidence. I know what you're thinking. You drive around your neighborhood, you see houses for sale. They've been sitting on the market for a long time. What does that mean? Is it the perfect time to buy? I've been thinking about selling my house, but is it the right time to do it? These are questions that rattle around your brain. Hometown Realty can answer them. So check them out online at myhtr.com. Again, that's myhtr.com. All right, let's get out of here with some Hey Joe. This is a very, I should rename this segment from Hey Joe to Scooter Talk with Ovies and Patterson.
Okay.
Because I've had a few listeners sending us the typical weird game shows from other countries. We should
that's
try
right.
this.
In Germany, they're doing this. Yeah.
For instance, I want to say this had been sent to us before. I couldn't remember, so I'm just going to go with it. Maybe you've never seen it. Are you logged into StreamYard?
I am. Yes.
So this is Can't Make It Out Tonight. We're betting on Japanese scooter thingy. Okay. So here's a guy dressed up in a frog uniform on a scooter. The point of this game is to make it through a very narrow corridor without touching anything. Here we go. Going through. Ooh. He's kind of touching these little foam paddings. And he made it. People keep coming up with third anniversary games for us to do. I'm still all in on grocery cart archery.
Okay.
Still in on that. I feel like that's more of a liability waiver problem to get, because I know what our demographics are.
Was there a game called Slippery Slope? Do you remember that? Where there was like they were climbing up and there was soapy waters coming down.
Oh yes, I do remember that. Yeah. I do remember that. I would go against that because I don't know if Whitaker and Hamer has the waiver policy to draw up for, I know what our demographics are, guys 25 to 54, especially on the 54 end, doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. So we don't want that. And I certainly don't want to do this next scooter video at our third anniversary party. So I've had several of you send me this clip. It was aggregated by Barstool Pack first. So I'm going to show you this video. This is just outside the Freedom of Expression tunnel at NC State. It's a guy on a Lime scooter jumping 10 steps down towards the Freedom of Expression tunnel.
Okay.
You see if you're watching on YouTube, you can see all these students gathered around the Tri-Towers. And I believe that's the Tri-Towers area. And they're all gathered around the steps to watch a guy clear 10 steps on a Lime scooter. Here's the video.
Ooh.
It's pretty impressive. I'm like, okay, it got aggregated by Barstool Pack. When did this happen? So this morning, while sipping coffee, I went down an Instagram rabbit hole. Turns out is this guy named Jack. I believe he's a student at NC State. I actually contacted my guy who works at over NC State saying, do you know who this guy is? Can you get him? Like, please tell him that I want to talk to him. Me and Giglio want to talk to him on the podcast because a lot of our listeners have sent us this clip. Here's the clip that he posted, another angle of this jump.
Great pop. Good audience.
Thank you. Did I wait long enough?
No, you're good.
So I was like, all right, how did this happen? So I went down his Instagram and he's just been doing small videos, jumping steps in front of the bell tower.
Mm-hmm.
He's been jumping steps in some other area. I think at Court of Carolinas, he also jumped a couple of steps. So I was like, all right, what happened here? So I finally found the original video where he called his shot. And here is a video from the student named Jack about what he was going to do. He originally had another spot he wanted to jump, and he explains, here's what I'm going to do.
Hey, you know where I'm at? 10 stairs. Wasn't going to do it, but I checked the site that I was going to do. Turns out not doable. Walked myself here to the Freedom Expression Tunnel, where I plan to jump this 10 stair. One attempt only this Wednesday, 2 p.m. All my friends are going to be there. I'll be there at 1:30. I jump at 2:15. One attempt only. See you soon.
It's things like this that make me miss college. Because this only happens on a college campus. And then with social media, you're seeing it fed to you and you're like, well, damn it, we're going to show up. And you saw the crowd there for the pop and things like that. It also warms my heart to see things like this.
Why?
Because there's something inside of our brains, men.
Yeah.
Specifically, it's a very specific age of dude.
Guys being dudes.
Yeah. That's universal. And it makes me go, you know what? The kids are going to be okay.
Didn't you see it with your boys?
Yes.
At an early age?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And you're seeing it with your
Yeah,
boys.
5 and 3. And it's like when they team up together, the ideas and the things that make them laugh, like, oh, this jump that I'm about to do, we're going to do it. And we are I'm looking at it like, okay, is this going to be the hospital trip? I don't stop them. I got to let them try it.
So growing up in South Florida, it was all flat, but we had ditches. We had these drainage ditches. And my buddies decided to take their skateboarding platforms and then decided to put it on the side of the ditch and a launch to see how far they could get up. I didn't have a BMX. I had my dad's beach cruiser. Okay.
How much air can you get on that?
How much can I get on the beach cruiser? And I did it.
Yeah.
I survived because, again, there's something in our brains at that age that goes, we're invincible. Of course we could do this. And the technology changes, but the inherent brain pattern still exists. They're doing it now on social media. Before that, we had Jackass.
Oh, listen.
Okay. This is just Jackass. Jackass took it to TV. And before that, it was, hey, man, grab your camcorder. Hey, man, grab the Super 8. Hey, man, grab a camera or something like that. We got to film this. Hey, man, hold my beer. Watch this. It is something in our brains. And when I see dudes doing this on a college campus, it actually warms my heart, Chip.
If Dan Mercer's family still has the VHSCs of us on Razor scooters, because growing up in Raleigh, the Razor scooter and Jackass, like those were timed up about the same time.
Yes.
And I definitely remember you go Friday night, you get to go spend the night at your friend's house. Like,
Yeah.
well, what are we going to do?
tonight? Right.
We're going to film ourselves trying to do Razor scooter jumps. So yeah,
Look,
that does warm my heart. Takes me back.
When was the blizzard? 99, 2000?
Yeah.
Okay. I just knew I was still at NC State at the time when we had that blizzard. For those who are too young, it shut down the entire area for like 2 weeks.
It is my only experience of stepping outside and sinking, it's like down into your leg.
Yeah. So 2 things that we did that if we had the technology would absolutely go on Instagram, TikTok, et cetera, to go viral. The first one was, I think McLaurin still is a parking company.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, at the time it was a parking company and you would pay these crazy amounts to go park in Hillsborough Street. Some buddies of mine tore down that sign, that parking rate sign. It was a substantial sign, reflective side down, going down hills that we should not have gone down in Dix Park. At one point ran into a tree. Not great. And then people driving around in their pickup trucks, dragging people on snowboards.
Oh, yeah,
snowboards behind them as if we were on the lake. Of course, we didn't have anything to film it with. We got some cameras, some point and shoots back in the day, but we didn't have digital stuff. The point is, if you could just leave with this, we're going to be okay.
We're going to be okay.
There are some universal things that you wonder about kids. They're constantly on their phones, these screenagers and all sort of stuff. No. Technology changes, the platform changes, but there's one thing that does not change. Something inside a dude's brain that goes, hey, man.
You want to try this?
You want to try it? Fuck yeah.
Yes.
Grab a camera.
Let's go.
Let's go. We'll see y'all tomorrow for an OG mailbag.